Now I'd like to welcome in Brian Moody, the executive editor at Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book. And Brian, thank you so much for being with us today. And one of the most important conversations, I think, on many Americans' minds is how are tariffs going to impact my future car buying experience? So, I mean, walk us through your initial thoughts here on the pricing right now we're seeing that could hit cars in the coming months and years.
Right. So we do see the price of new cars going up, but they're not going up dramatically, which is something that we may have expected because of tariffs. Now, the reason for this is varied. First of all, many automakers are choosing to absorb the price increases so as to avoid sticker shock and drive customers away. The theory is if they can sell in volume, they may not have to make up as much on each individual model. The other thing is that automakers and dealers can sort of hide those price increases. They can raise the destination fee, they can decontent the car, they can also take one car that receives a high tariff and one that receives a low tariff and even it out amongst many models. So as you probably know, many automakers that are thought of as import brands already make many of their cars here in the US. In fact, Nissan just recently lowered the price on two of their cars because they make those models and some of the components, including the engines, they make them right here in the US. So there's a lot of different ground to cover when it comes to that topic, but so far, no gigantic price increases, although they are creeping up slightly.
Brian, as someone who works closely within this world and you're seeing these dynamics play out, I mean, 10, 15 years ago, you buy the new car, you drive it out of the lot, it loses some value. I imagine there's still some of that depreciation. You're not buying it for an investment, but there's always been types of vehicles, whether it's heavy-duty pickups or things like that have longer shelf life, let's say, held value more. Two-part question: how are tariffs influencing resale prices, and how are EVs hanging in there when it comes to price point if you replace it in the used market?
Right. So EVs are one of those good news, bad news type stories. Used EVs are depreciating very rapidly. And many people might not know this, but the taxpayer-funded incentives for electric vehicles are going to expire at the end of this month. And those can, in some cases, apply to used electric cars. If you look at a used electric car that's going to have a great price to begin with, and then you can apply that $4,000 credit to it, that's an amazing deal. Not great for the person who purchased it outright, but if you leased it, you don't care, you just turn it back in. One thing we know is that used car prices are going up gradually anyway, nothing to do with tariffs, nothing to do with the president or any of that, but because there was already going to be a shortage. Remember, when the pandemic era happened, many automakers stopped building cars because they didn't think there would be demand. Those cars they didn't build back then result in a lack of used cars on the market today. And when we say used cars, we're really talking about lightly used cars. High mileage, $10,000 used cars, not really affected that much.
Okay, so really quickly before we let you go, I am curious. We've talked a lot about the housing market, this deferral mindset of the consumer where we're waiting to buy because we think things will improve. Is there any of that thinking right now in the auto space where everyone's thinking, hey, eventually it'll be more like the pandemic era where you get more bang for your buck, cars are cheaper? I mean, is that a real possibility, or are we all just sort of fooling ourselves with that mindset?
Well, I'm going to give you one of the answers that I most hate to receive, which is yes and no. Gosh, I hate to hear that, but here I am saying it. So when it comes to used cars, we know the average used car on the road today is about 12 years old. So yeah, some people are definitely waiting, and there may be a benefit. But like we said, electric cars, there's no benefit to waiting. If you are going to get an electric car and you know that it will work for you, go out and get one this month. That's probably the best deal you're going to get.
Hey, Brian, final question. When we see customer dynamics, is the SUV the most popular, most desirable car now? You know, I'm trying to think like the Toyota RAV4 kind of segment?
Yes, for sure. Pickup trucks, full-size pickups, tend to be popular. They are continuing to be popular. However, like you said, RAV4, Honda CR-V, Nissan Rogue, those are very popular. So much so that we now see the Toyota RAV4 starting to encroach on the bottom pickup, so that pretty soon it's going to be which is more popular, small SUV or the least popular full-size pickup. That's quite a change from decades past.
Yeah, and a good place to leave it. And I think really great conversation. I think hearing
Thank
this
you.
insight is so huge. And I don't mind an answer that's yes and no, because it's better than hey, maybe no and no. I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
So appreciate it,
Yeah.
Brian Moody, executive editor at Auto Trader, as well as Kelly Blue Book.